Here's Coach Todd.
Your relationship with your players is exactly the relationship they'll have with each other. So you can test it out if you want or whatever. I'd rather you just run with it because you're going to find out that that's the case. One of the things that those relationships between coaches and players allows them and you to make a mistake, and it's not a big deal. And one of the things that we are not good at in our culture is how we react to failure. We dodge it, we proclaim it wasn't us, it was a lot of different ways to deal with it, but it's the only opportunity that you have to really learn something. So when you have freedom in practice and in play to be yourself, that opens up to the fact that every once in a while you're going to make a mistake. I'm sorry, probably none of you fit in that, but most people I talk to and work with can find some examples of that. So relationship is the key to everything, but you need simple, easy to follow principles, otherwise you're throwing darts in a dark room. So how many parents do we have in the room? I'll start with you because you have the toughest job in the world, which is to watch your kids play. You can tell me whatever you want, but when they're out on the court, you're dying. And all you have to do to check it out is watch a game on TV, a college game on TV or whatever, and they pan the crowd, and mom is got her head between her legs, and dad had to go out and get a smoke because he couldn't stay in any longer. No, we want them to do well so badly that, we don't have anything to say about it sitting in the stands. So it's a tough job, but your job actually starts before they get on the court and after they get off the court. Whether you're a coach or a player or a parent, you need some basic principles or commitments to work from rather than do what human beings do way too much of, which is just react to stuff. And your reactions are always the same. Same stimulus, same reaction. So reactions are useful. You know how to get out the door, start your car, a lot of things that are useful. But life lived just in reacting is not a great life. To have a great life, it needs to be created. It needs to be made up. Whatever you want to accomplish, you need to practice. And you need to practice over and over. I'll say just a little bit about me. I coached basketball for 25 years, and then I started a company that does team building and leadership training that I'm in my 32nd year of doing that. So I've been coaching people since 1960. I know it's a lot. I figured out it's a long time. So, but I'm always learning something, or at least that's my intention. But we work with lots of college teams, and the thing that we give them are what we call our championship team principles. And those teams that actually practice the principles do amazing things. We've coached NCAA championship teams in different sports, lots of individual star athletes, all that kind of stuff. But the game is, what do I do when I'm not playing? When I get out of school, when I go to work or whatever? What, 2.5% of all the athletes, NCAA athletes, make it into the professional ranks? 2.5%, and not too many folks. Parents' job isn't to coach. Parents' job is to support, to be the person they can always count on to be there no matter how they played. Your job isn't to coach them. I strongly suggest don't do that, because it's not fair to either one of you. It's not fair to either one of you. And there are success stories where adults have coached their sons or daughters and all that kind of thing. But always there's that question, was that the coach talking? Or was that my dad or my mom talking? So it's not fair to either person. You want to enjoy the ride. It's a short period of time, and they need your support as their parent. In other words, they're all your little All-Americans. But it doesn't matter how far they go in terms of, again, there's not a lot of folks that are going to be that 2.5%. So it's what did they learn? What kind of human being are they? And the biggest thing that I find in short supply lately in the last 10 years is the lack of being able to bounce back from disappointment. And life, any adult here never been disappointed about anything? So, stuff happens. My favorite bumper sticker is stuff happens, and we don't have anything to say about it. And it's how we deal with it, it's how we rebound that makes a difference. And you're the rock that your kids count on. And the tendency that doesn't work is to want to do a little coaching. And you've watched a lot of games because they've played a lot of games, and you've seen them on the court or wherever their sport, where it takes them. Players do not have any idea what coaches do because their focus is different. They're not bad people or whatever, their focus is different, mainly on themselves and how they're doing, which is the nature of teenage and on up. So that's fine. That's what they're doing. And then coach is showing them how to do that together. Because nobody can make it in this world, whatever making it is for you, without other people. How well you play with others is critical. And some people learn that really the hard way and go through a lot of stuff because they don't see that from the beginning. So every time they breathe, they're learning something. That's the stage they're in. So your support is critical in saying, persevere, keep going. You cannot remove the chuck holes out of their road. No matter what you do, know how much you try to do that, they'll find a chuck hole somewhere. They're going to run into something somewhere that they have to deal with. It's how they bounce back. And what are the principles that you operate from that tell you you can bounce back? You can do this. Show them how to bounce back from their mistake and not make them wrong because they made a mistake. If you make somebody wrong for what they did, what you create is resistance, and you'll be talking into a windstorm. They won't get one thing that you have to contribute to that. So, that's the deal, and that's where, and like I said, you have a tough job. It's a pain in the butt to watch your kids play. You don't die from losing. You die from of how you view all that, and it's how you relate to it. Life is how you relate to the tough stuff and how much you can bounce back from almost anything. So it's for all the athletes here, it's all up to you. So, like I said, parents, you're the rock. And it really is a covenant, a promise that I'll be there no matter what. And if there's any one quality that you can instill in your kids, it's persevere. Don't quit. Don't give up. Keep going. There are historically number of great successes that have happened because someone didn't quit. Treat with empathy, not sympathy. Treat empathy as I understand what you're going through, but I'm not going to sell out on you. I'm not going to let you off the hook just because something got a little rough or whatever. Players, athletes, a lot of times you get caught in between your parents and the coaches and their opinions about things. So your job is to keep them straight. That, you know, you can't serve two masters. So your coach is your coach. And you need to ride with the flow and learn what you can learn and all of that. Being to practice on time, being there with the equipment that you're supposed to be there with. They need to be kind of your police person in terms of your preparation for things because they facilitate so much. Whatever your team rules are, they need to support you in keeping them. So, but you're the one that's going to educate them. It's not their job to figure that out. It's your job to let them know what that is, what's expected. Because different coaches want different stuff from time to time, or do it a different way or whatever. So they need to know what that is. What I suggest to the coaches here, and I say to all the players, is you need to figure out what the rules that you need for operating that work. And my suggestion to all coaches is have the players come up with that. Have them figure out what they want their team to look at. We work with second graders, and they can do this. Second graders. So I think y'all can handle that. So without that, then you're flopping around like a fish out of water, and it's not going to be a great experience. What's the number one thing that a player needs to get out of what he's doing? I'm talking about anywhere from 6 to 8 years old to 18 years old. What's the first thing you would rate your experience of being an athlete? Yeah, no kidding, fun. God, when did that fly out the window? You know, it's fun. It needs to be fun. It's not brain surgery. It's not the NCAA finals. It's a game. It's a game. And here's the rub. The purpose of a game is to declare a winner. That's why any game is to declare a winner. But winning is not the deal. Winning is the byproduct of doing it well, of relating to each other and being teammates to the people that you're playing the game with. And that's what works. Play is the most natural thing that we do as human beings. And we start from, where's those little ones that were here? From there on up. Listen, hard work is fun sometimes. When I say this, when I first started saying this to coaches, I could see sweat popping out on their forehead, because the picture came up of their team hanging from the baskets and running around, and nobody was doing anything to get, it looked like chaos. So no, that's not it. Accomplishment of the execution of how you do things and how you put things together and all that, that's fun. And to, as an example, run a play that works like the coach designed it and worked perfectly, that's really fun for the coach, but that's fun when that happens. It's like when you do at work for the parents here, doesn't that get the same response when that happens to you at work, when something is done the way it's supposed to be done and everybody's in it together and you all get it done on time and all of that stuff? It's about fun for the parents here. You want to make sure that's happening, and you don't have to give a speech about it. You just said, are you having fun, or do you look forward to doing what you're doing, or whatever? Because we can find lots of ways to torture ourselves. We don't need anything in particular. We'll figure out something. So, fun. Now, 100% is an ideal, and it's not attainable, but that's what you're going for, and you get closer to. The thing is, when you get close to 100%, you're going to find there's another little hill to climb, so you're not quite where you thought you are because you learned something and moved up. So, but that's the effort. The best that you have for as long as you're out there, and that's it. My teams were known for running the fast break. And until I got them actually running on the fast break, like running, I don't have anything to coach. Till you guys are at 100% of effort at what you're doing, because you're always learning. Coach doesn't have anything to coach because he doesn't know who he's coaching, doesn't know where they are. When all of a sudden when you up the ante and you lay it out there on the court, now I can coach, because I know you can get up and down the court like you need to get up and down the court. Now we can start adding some refinements and whatever. So your job is to give that 100% and practice. I used to shoot 1,000 shots a day in the summertime. I ended up being a good shooter. I ended up being a 90% shooter at the professional level. So from the free throw line. So there's a guy who wrote a book called Black Box Thinking, Matthew Syed. He's a sports writer, but he was a world champion table tennis player. And he says it takes 10,000 hours to be great at anything, 10,000 hours of practice. Now he's counting from when you're 6 or whatever and you began and all of that, but it takes practice. I have mine on order, but my magic wand has not arrived yet, and so I can't help you with that. So yeah, it's doing it over and over and over. The only thing I want to say to the coaches is it's your job to create a relationship with the parents. It's not the other way around. It's not their job to come to you, and it's not the player's job to come to you. It's your job to create a relationship with each of your players and to create a relationship with each parent, because that's what makes it all work. And they need to know what your thinking is, what principles are you operating from, what are your intentions, what are the goals you have set for the time they spend together. Listen, this works with 8-year-olds. We just make it very, very simple, but let me tell you something, they don't forget. You tell an 8-year-old you're committed to something and you misstep, they will chew you up in a heartbeat. Remember, you're spending time with their prized possessions, called their children. Harry Glickman was the person who put the Trailblazers together. He got the 3 owners who put up the money and the whole deal. Portland had no idea about the NBA. They knew it existed and whatever, but they didn't know what it looked like or anything. So the job was to sell the NBA, to have people really appreciate it. So that was my number one commitment with my team. When I say we ran the fast break, we ran the fast break. Our fast break would take your breath away when we execute properly. Nobody who went to the Coliseum those first couple of years got cheated in terms of a game. By the way, I have a good friend in Pendleton who had season tickets $8 a piece. We beat the Milwaukee Bucks when they were the defending champions. We beat the Knicks when they were a defending champion. And you guys don't know this, but the NBA now doesn't have any centers. They have 7-foot forwards who like to shoot three-pointers. So there's no real centers. When I was coaching the Trailblazers, we had 8, 9, 10 bona fide centers, including Wilt Chamberlain, who was the biggest monster of them all, at 7'2", 280 pounds, and run 10 flat in the 100. So, fastest guy in the NBA. Had a standing $5,000 bet that no one could beat him. No one took him up on it because they were afraid. I must have spoken at 85 different Rotary clubs and Lions clubs and whatever, and sometimes we had 12 people there. And I remember we did the downtown Rotary in Portland, and we had 90. We played in Pendleton, we played in Southern Washington, forget now who we played over there. We played in Salem, so we were selling the experience of an NBA team to the state, because it's always been, that was always Harry's view of what we should be doing. And so, it was, people had to come to see a game to see if what I said had any merit. And the fact that they had a great experience and they had fun, they had fun, they were going to come back again. Television was on Saturday, game of the week on Saturday. And some of you, and you could see Bill Russell and the Celtics playing Wilt Chamberlain and Philadelphia about 18 times during the year, because they got them on as often as they could, because that was a gigantic battle. They played 82 games then with 8 teams. Now they play 82 games with 30 some teams. It's still a lot of games. One year Wilt Chamberlain and Russell were kind of in a battle. Wilt averaged 50 points one year, and he got 28 rebounds a game. Russell got 26 rebounds. Here's the thing about LeBron. I get asked all the time about comparing him to some of the other people I was talking about. And I said, no, you can't do that. There's nobody like him. I don't think he's the best basketball player ever. I think he's one of a kind. He can shoot the ball from that corner to that basket. And I mean shoot the ball, not rear back and throw it. He's just strong and whatever. So, he's just like Wilt Chamberlain is. There's only one of a kind. I really like Jabbar. First time I saw Jabbar, I saw him a lot because I was in Southern California when he was in college. But I was scouting him because we were playing him next when I was with the Trailblazers, so I went to LA. Here's what happened. So they throw the ball in, he catches the ball going out of bounds, drops it behind him, turns around, takes 2 gigantic dribbles and stuffs the ball from the top of the key. I said, oh, really? This is who we're playing next? I mean, see, as he got older, he played, till he was in his 40s. So he got old. He didn't do a lot of that stuff. He saved his energy and all of that. But he was fun to watch because he was just so pretty. The great hook and the whole deal. The first thing I remember coaching the Trailblazers, I was alone. There were no assistant coaches, if you can believe this. There were no assistant coaches in the NBA then. There was the head coach, and that was it. And Boston had a guy who was the head of scouting, college scout, but he would sit at the bench. He would be an assistant coach when he could, when it didn't interfere with that. And that was it. That was it. And Dick Motta was coaching Chicago. And his second year, he told his ownership, "You got to hire an assistant." I said, I can't do all those 41 games on the road by myself. I need somebody to hang out with, you know. Really, I mean, you don't realize how tough the NBA schedule is. You never in the same town 2 days in a row. You play, you fly out right after the game or early 6 a.m. You don't know how many 6 a.m. flights I caught that first year with the Trailblazers, because most people didn't have a private plane. Now all of the teams have a plane, or they charter a plane and like that. But so that schedule is brutal. But I look at the bench. Look at the bench tonight in the game, if you see any of the game, and see how many people in the suits there are on each team. There's 7 or 8. You know, they got to have a second row of them behind the bench, and I'm wondering, what do they do? You know, I mean, you got 12, 14 guys you're coaching. What do you do? But I'm sure they figured out a lot of things for him to do, the head coach. So, you know, it's a lot different, and there's a lot different pressures. The coverage that pro sports gets on television, and the amount of money television is willing to pay for game, you know, all of that stuff, that's changed a lot of things. I loved when I was playing, and we always, back in the day, we were always 2 to a room, and you had usually had the same person that was your roommate, and you know, my best friend in the American Basketball League was Governor Vaughn, who was an Illinois graduate, who was a black player. We had 7 white and 5 black. And the coach was Irma Robinson, who is one of the original Globetrotters. And he called Governor and I in and said, "Would you guys mind rooming together?" Because there was an odd numbers. And we laughed because we hung out together all the time anyway. But I didn't realize how big a deal it was. There used to be an unofficial rule in the NBA, 7 white, 5 black. And then Red Auerbach with the Celtics screwed it up and got Willie Knowles in a trade, and he had 5 starters. That's before the march at Selma. That's before a lot of things. And sports has always led the way in that, in some form or other, even if it's limited and all that. So the people who went before you broke a lot of ground to have the kind of situations you have now and all that going on. When Bill Russell was at USF, they played Loyola in New Orleans, and he had death threats before the game. And they played the game, and they backed the bus up to the arena, and they got out of town because they were afraid of what might happen or whatever. So those guys paid a lot of dues that hardly ever gets mentioned ever now. Somebody said to me, "Well, how come there aren't more white players?" And I said, "Well, because they're not good enough." And that's not that they couldn't be, they didn't work hard enough, and they quit on themselves somewhere along the line and said it's too tough. It's too tough. It goes back to what I said. 10,000 hours of practice. You want to be great at anything? 10,000 hours of practice. Sometimes you're going to fail. If you're playing big enough, it's assuredly sometimes you're going to fail. But that's where you learn how to come back and take it on again the next time. One, I want you to know how much I appreciate all of you being here and taking time out of your day, taking time out of your practice, whatever it is, to listen to an old guy who is the one thing I can say, though, I've never stopped coaching. So I went right from coaching basketball to now, so that's 58 years. Only two things that it takes to create a relationship. That's respect and a purpose that you work on together. So you don't have to respect everything about the person. You have to find something to respect about them, and some people might make you work hard to find that, but you gotta, if you don't have respect, nothing can happen. Respect and a purpose, and you can do a project with a stranger if you respect them and what they bring to the party, and you have something you're working on together. So that's how you start judging the relationships you have. So thank you a lot. Appreciate all of you being here.